One. Okay, hold
Okay.
on. She is from NOLA. They asking about your accent.
Who
Um,
is asking? Where the people? I can't see nobody.
well, I
Have
don't think we
I
can
did
see
my
each
thing
other's
glitch?
chat.
Cause
You don't see no chat box.
oh really?
Yeah, that's the kind of the sucky part.
No.
I don't think anyway.
Well, that sucks ass. Well, hello, people. I can't even much see y'all. But yeah, I'm from New Orleans.
She said she's from Shreveport.
Um, okay, Shreveport. All right
Yeah,
now.
Shreveport.
She
Sorry.
out there closer to the country.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so our question for today, or our topic that we want to talk about in this co-working session, is collaboration. I wanted to hear and discuss just for a couple minutes, ideas around collaboration, the power of it, why maybe certain people don't collaborate, and how we are intentional about utilizing collaborations in our networks and in our universes. So you were just beginning to speak on that, so go ahead, tell the people what you're thinking.
Yeah, so my first thoughts, I don't know why people aren't collaborating because being able to work together and have mutually beneficial impacts is the cheat code. Like
Hello?
it's the literal cheat code. Especially if we think about the work that we have done together and being able to support each other and the maximum impact that is made. I don't know what folks are waiting on if they're not. Okay. So that's the first thing is if you're not collaborating, get your life together, all right, and find something and somebody to collaborate with.
Mhm.
To that point, let me actually unpack that though, because you cannot and do not want to collaborate with everybody. There have been, I'm big like collaboration energy, and there have been times where I've collaborated with people and we actually weren't aligned. And so
Mhm.
I think it's really important when we're thinking about who we want to collaborate with, that you ensure that your ways of viewing life are aligned, that your goals are aligned, that you see things in similar ways, because if not, it can be really, really, really harmful. I've had some collaborations I've had to walk away from
Mhm.
that is like, yeah, this wasn't a good idea at all. And it's because I really didn't take the time to know the core of the person. So that would probably be my biggest advice about
Mhm.
when trying to figure out who to collaborate with, that you are ensuring is people that share the same type of heart and spirit as you, because if not, it can go terribly wrong.
So good. And
I think
I
that's important. Yeah.
absolutely echo those sentiments. And the unfortunate part is sometimes, because you said this is not a good idea, sometimes the good idea, you say it's not a good idea and you think your idea is not the good idea, when really it's the
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
collaboration that was not a good idea. You should continue to pursue that master class or creating that project or doing that thing, because that is in fact what you were called to do. But we chose the wrong person because we didn't do our due diligence, because we
Right.
didn't assess what actually matters to me, right? What actually matters to me, what is important to me. You saying, yeah, you can be loose with communication, it's fine, you can text me, and really you want it in an email. Now you frustrated. Oh, they keep texting me in the middle of the night. My phone's blowing up. Well, you didn't set that boundary, and I'm using that as just whatever example came to mind. But I think that's
Mm-hmm.
important too when we do have these failed collaborations or misaligned collaborations, that we honestly assess, okay, was it the person I chose, or was it the project, or was it both, or what, balance or levels do we assign to which part of the collaboration? Hey, Dr. G. And Jasmine says no one is bigger than the next person, so our community feels like crabs in a bucket. And that is an unfortunate part to answer
Mm.
your initial question of why people aren't collaborating. I think that's why they feel like, because for example, you and I, we have very similar like visions kind of where our communities are going to go, right? We're both black women, we're both in the podcast space, we both are about authenticity and deep relationships and developing personal relationships. Like we have a lot of extremely similar brand identities, right? And it's very easy for me to be like, well, I'm not gonna tell her about my project because I don't want her to do the project that I'm finna try and do. And it's like, you can go ahead and do a master class. How I feel, I'm like, girl, you can go do a master class too. What you want to teach the people, right? How do you want to teach the
Absolutely.
people? Because you're not going to do it like me, and I'm not going to do it like you. You're not going to ask the same questions or approach it from the same perspective as I am, empty way, right? So how can we collaborate over compete in this arena, you know?
Correct. Correct. It reminds me of a lot of the conversation that we had during Discover Your Destiny and a lot of the conversation that we have about boundaries because those types of things come up as you're building an authentic relationship with somebody and as you're really getting to know who they are, how they operate, right? But we have to be really intentional about the type of conversations that we're having so that we can make sure people are aligned, right? So I'll give you an example. I was doing there's a creator actually here on TikTok that I was collaborating with. We started doing a podcast together. And the straw that broke the camel's back in everything was that I need things to be scheduled on a calendar. I need for there to be structure and not just me, people like me. Right. So there are people like me that are out here in this world that need structure. And when you are bringing more people into a system, structure is important. Systems are important so that everybody is honored in that system. Well, this creator didn't like that. She didn't like structure. She didn't like calendars. She didn't want to do any of that. So I made a comment and I was like, we really need to put this on the calendar. And she got offended. And that's ultimately what dissolved the relationship. But that is something that I could have parsed out ahead of time and been like, if you're somebody who I'm working in your system, you're working in my system, but you doing shit all willy-nilly. And that's not gonna ever work for me.
Yeah.
It's not gonna ever work for me.
Ever.
And I know that I'm feeling what you're doing and that's cool and all that. But if it is devoid of structure, Kimberlyn Jackson is not going to be able to operate in that system. So I have to be really authentic with myself of the things that I need to have. And I also have to be intentional with asking the questions to the person that I'm wanting to collaborate with. Again, so I can ensure that we're aligned. I hate that there is so much, and I'm not going to even give it so much, but I hate that there are people who show up with a competitive type of spirit. I can't support you because if I support you, then that's going to take away from me. Because this is the thing: at the end of the day, we all have our own slice that we are called to, every single one of us. And while those slices may overlap in different ways, they are not exactly the same because we're not the same people.
Right.
We don't know the same people. We don't exist in the exact same space. So I don't have to be afraid of you taking something away from me. I look at it as it's multiplication. You know, now your people know about me. Now my people know about you. Now we all know about each other. We can all work together and also go tell somebody else because there's other people that also need to know, right? Like that's the only way, especially right now in 2026, with everything that's happening in the world, that's the only way that we're going to be able to get our projects off the ground, to be able to find the people who are actively looking for the support.
Yes, at 1,000% everything. So I want to take the last couple minutes and talk about like the power, the benefit, the necessity really of collaboration, because to your point of calendars and organization, there is one type of person who will hear that and reject that idea completely, reject that notion, and they can do that, right? And then there are another type of people where that idea has been foundational from the beginning. And then there's somebody like myself who collaborates with someone like yourself who that has been foundational, and I actually adopt that way of being more heavily in terms of, now I don't have to have every single thing on the calendar, but I do need a calendar. I absolutely do. I'm an extreme creative. I have ADHD. I'm full of ideas. I'm full of projects. I'm full of things I want to do, and running around without any sort of calendar creates this internal guilt of like I'm not actually getting things done because I'm not. I'm just I want to do this, I want to do that, and I'm running and I'm starting and I'm not completing and I done started the master class, but I never came back around to finishing it because it never got on the calendar. So for me, that has definitely been a benefit in one arena in terms of like professional development, but then on the creative side, I'm able to actually get projects done, get shit done. Like when I think about my podcast and just even your like questioning and well, what do you want it to look like? What kind of structure are you looking for? Well, this is how I'm doing mine. These are the things that I like to utilize. And then we have, different internships that we're building and able to actually come together, utilizing, your network, my ideas, my creativity, your structure, like all these different things we're kind of able to yin and yang off of. So those are kind of some of the benefits that come up for me and some of the like absolutely I'm endorsing collaboration and because of these things. So what are some of those for you yourself? And then I'm gonna read some of these
Yeah, I
comments.
think the biggest benefit, I think, is not doing it alone. Things can be really overwhelming when you're trying to figure out everything on your own.
Yes.
And so being able to have a thought partner who can ask the right question. Like I might not know the answer, right? Because like for instance, marketing and branding, that is not my area of expertise, you understand?
Right.
But
You got
I do
professions.
know the natural questions
Yes.
that come up about that. So just me asking those questions helps you to be able to refine what it is that you're trying to communicate and all of that. So having thought partners and think tanks and things. I'm really big on that because I think if we can bring our ideas to other people without the fear of, them taking it or stealing it or whatever, just genuinely, I'm bringing this idea, y'all help me develop this. Everybody's looking at things through a different lens because everybody has a different life experience. Everybody has different expertise. So
Yeah.
they're going to pick up on certain things that somebody else might not have picked up on. And those are blind spots that we may own because I'm here, I'm the expert, I'm looking at it, but I'm also not necessarily thinking about it from the standpoint of someone who's actually seeking out this knowledge. What are the natural questions that they might have? So that helps us to be able to anticipate the misunderstandings, to be able to be more clear in what we're communicating. So that's probably the biggest thing I would say is being able to have that extra pair of eyes, ears, brain
Yes.
in the space. And then also the how do I want to call it? The satisfaction and the reward, if you will, of seeing something through
Yeah.
to completion because you have like this built-in accountability partner
Yes.
and person, even when we're in this co-working space and we're working on different projects, like we're working
Right.
on our own things, but we're still coming back together and being like, all right, now what you got done
Yeah.
over there? You said you wanted to get this and
Yeah.
that done. What does that look like? And not from a place of judgment, but from a place of I'm rooting for you. I'm here. Like what can I do to help support?
Yes.
Again, things are so much lighter when we're not carrying it by ourselves.
Yes.
And then the last thing I think I would say is collaboration allows us to exist outside of systems that often limit access. Because there are ways to be able to collaborate where money is not a barrier. Like, so with a lot of the things that I do, I try my best to offer a way for somebody to still be able to engage if they don't have the money. I know how much of my life that I would see somebody, I'd be like, oh my God, I wish I could work with them, but I just don't have the finances to be able to do that. But what I do have is this skill set. I have this brain. I have that, like, I can offer this is. So how can we barter services to be able to support each other? And I'll say again, especially in 2026, with everything that's happening right now in the world and the way that people are just trying to figure out how they're going to keep the lights on, we can get a lot of things done that have been bottlenecks in our system if we remove the monetary piece out of it and adopt the mutually beneficial collaborative type of exchange. It really can make a huge difference. And just for me, I've said this many times to you, that had it not been for us connecting, I know that things wouldn't be nearly as organized. I wouldn't I would just be still sitting here like, I don't know how to do,
Yes.
because there were things I didn't know, but being able to have this collaboration has really skyrocketed me into places that I needed to go, and it's mutually beneficial. So yeah.
Same. I love and echo your sentiments. I want to shout out the chat first of all before we continue. Dr. G, Jasmine, thank y'all for sharing. Thank y'all for the gifts. Thank y'all for the comments. Let me read some of them. It says, I told them yesterday and will post, but our gifts slash abilities are our unique fingerprints. So even if there are many hands in the room, every fingerprint is different. I love that. That's real good.
Yes.
Yes, because you can both grow faster together and teaching the same thing. Yes. What I hear from Let's Talk is going to be heard different from Kim. Yes, yes, exactly. It's human nature to comprehend a message differently from each person, and collaboration has benefits, expands perspectives, accelerates growth, increases impact and efficiency. It also strengthens relationships and influence and removes barriers to entry, like she mentioned. All excellent points.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I think, to kind of put a button on it, I think there are so many opportunities for collaboration. I think that we owe it to ourselves to find those opportunities and be intentional about making them happen, because we don't have to do this thing alone. There are so many people who will absolutely not understand your vision, but you only need a couple of them that do understand your vision. And I think, as you touched on before, the more intentional we are about seeking what we need, what makes sense, where there's some alignment, the more people will naturally gravitate towards our ethos, and we
Yes.
will find our people. We are proof of that in and of itself. So, anything you want to leave the people with before we go?
The last thing I would say is take the initiative and the chance to ask people if they're willing to collaborate.
Yeah.
Even if, and I'm talking to myself, even when I say this, there are creators and people that I've seen. I used to have like talk shows and stuff, so I had a reason, right, to be like, hey, can you be on my talk show? Well, now I don't have those shows anymore, but I still would love to work with those people.
Yeah.
So taking the risk and being like, hey, I really admire your work, and this is, I would love for us to work together and these capacities, what have you, but like take that chance, because somebody is going to be willing to show up with you and collaborate with you. It's sometimes we cut off those opportunities because we knock ourselves out of the running before it even happens, and we are inadvertently putting people up on pedestals as opposed to honoring like they are a person and they may be willing. The worst that they could say is no. Like, no, I don't have capacity to do that right now. And even in their no, there still might be an entry point, right?
Yeah.
So it might be like, well, no, I don't have the capacity to do any more work pro bono this year, but holla at me next year at the top of the year,
Right.
or whatever. Like find that way and make those connections with people that you have looked at their work, you have taken the time to really understand how they align. If they align, reach out and ask. Yeah.
Excellent. All right, y'all. So that is it for our coworker convo for today. We I'm still trying to figure out a name for this little moment
I
here.
liked it. I
Our
liked
cooler
it. It's in
conversation.
workshop. It's in workshop.
Yeah. So if y'all have some ideas, put it in the chat. Let me know. But we are here every single Thursday on TikTok Live doing co-working. We start the session with a mindset moment just to get us in our boss moods, our boss zones, and then we bring our projects. Today, specifically, Kimberly and I were collaborating on this specific project, but typically we are working on our own things. We got some music, the jams going, but it is an opportunity just to, as we touched on, have some accountability, have some other people rooting for you to get your ish done. Okay, we got projects, we got goals, we got content to create and all kind of stuff. So we would love to have y'all pull up and join us, and then at the end we have a fun little conversation on different entrepreneurial, creative, business-esque topics, and we would love for y'all to participate. So that's it. That's all I got. We'll see you back next week. All right, let me stop the recording.
Bye, y'all.